We are live.
We're back.
Back in action. Back talking about the 48 laws of power.
Yeah.
In particular, law number 9.
Okay.
Law number 9. Win through your actions, never through an argument. Any momentary triumph you think you have gained through an argument is really a victory not worthwhile. The resentment and ill will you stir up is stronger and lasts longer than any momentary change of opinion. It's much more powerful to get others to agree with you through your actions without saying a word. Demonstrate, do not explicate.
Wow.
So this is law number 9 of the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And win through your actions without saying a word. That's hard for Cubans to do. Or any Hispanics, right? We like to talk.
Well, it goes with the saying, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
You see some people talk, but, they're doing something else.
Yes.
Robert Greene is on the money. Jordan Peterson says that. He came out one time and he said, don't look at what people say, look at what they do. Don't worry about hearing what they say. Just look at what they do. What do their actions manifest?
Yeah.
And that's their true self.
Right. And, win through your actions. See, in an argument, things get heated. And what Robert Greene is saying is that if you're trying to convince somebody, it's not going to last long, because let's say you can prove a point in an argument, in a debate. At the end of the day, they're still going to have their views. You're not changing them, really.
Yeah, and if you get a victory out of it, it's short-lived.
Yeah.
Because they're going to go back to what their core is, which is whatever view they had prior to, potentially.
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting because, like you said, actions speak louder than words.
That's right.
And you see that, or I think you said Peterson, but I think growing up, you hear people say, do as I do, not as I say, right? That true examples lead by example, and they actually are the doers. They're not just talking, because anybody can talk. It doesn't cost you anything.
Absolutely.
There's nothing behind it sometimes.
Yeah, and you see it in the corporate structure for business. Big corporations, how they're trying sometimes to advance. They'll say one thing and they'll turn around and do another. It's a very interesting world.
Yeah.
Also the world of politics. There's a lot of them that get to the pulpit and they'll say things to gain votes, and then once they're in office, they do something different.
There.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that going on.
Yes.
This is such a important law, number 9.
Yeah, because you can try and you get stuck in that back and forth of trying to convince somebody. I was thinking like things that you can't argue. For example, the number of goals that Messi has scored, or the number of goals that Cristiano Ronaldo has scored. Those are actions. And whether you believe that they're the greatest player or not, the numbers are the numbers. And the numbers do the talking. And some people claim themselves as being the best in the world at one thing or the other, but what are you actually showing? If you're the best salesperson and you're claiming to be the top salesperson, but your numbers aren't there, you're going to get challenged on it.
Right. No, and anytime you try to, I know that I believe that LeBron James had an interview where he said, I'm the best basketball player in the world or something like this, and he took a lot of heat for saying something like that.
Yeah.
Because, why would you do something like that?
I saw Michael Jordan talk about that.
Uh-huh.
And not particularly LeBron. He was just saying when somebody calls you the best of all time, the greatest of all time, he was debunking the even that concept, because he says, as he was even talking about, he's like, I never played against, and then he named some of the best players that were before him.
Right.
And I think he was even talking about, you had different gear, like equipment. Things were different back then, so you can't compare. It's not apples to apples. People will always compare, but it's not a true comparison,
Right.
because they never were playing at the same time, some of these guys.
Correct.
And then you also have situations where it's like, oh, if Mike Tyson would have fought this person when he was in his prime, same thing, right? Because it's like, oh, but he's the greatest, but that you caught him when he wasn't in his prime or something. So I think there's a lot of merit to it, because
I think so too.
yeah,
Especially in boxing. I remember Roberto Duran, they used to call him Mano de Piedra.
yeah,
I mean, that guy was absolutely incredible. But towards the end, I think he got beat quite a bit. And so there was a recurrent theme whenever I watched one of his fights is, oh, you know, his prime has left him. He's not in his prime anymore. However, if he would have fought this guy when he was in his prime, that would be another story.
right,
And you can speak like that all day long. Roberto Duran had a tremendous career.
yeah.
These guys were incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, your actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about, because he's saying, in order to gain power, don't try and convince somebody through an argument. You might be right, but don't try doing it that way. Prove them wrong.
Right.
What do you think about, do you think it goes hand in hand with, like, some fights aren't worth, fighting? Or, win the battle, but not the war.
Right.
That concept that maybe it's not worth engaging with that person in an argument, because it's like a battle, but the war would be the equivalent of
At the end of
actions.
the day, a lot of the stuff that we humans get involved with arguments and stuff like that, end up being very petty
Yes.
at the
Oh,
end
yeah.
of the day.
Yeah.
You see it all the time. In fact, there's time and time again you hear from couples, husband and wives, we're fighting over silly stuff.
Yep.
And amongst friends, we know a couple of people, in fact, we were discussing it this morning, that, they were friends forever. One of them was the godfather of one of the kids, the other one the godfather of the other. And they ended up separating, breaking up their friendship over a football game or something like that. I forget.
Oh, yeah.
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 So,
Yeah, but the
It's
football game was the last straw on the camel's back.
potential. Yeah, yeah.
There was probably other things going on, but you would think a friendship would be able to weather those difficulties.
You would think.
But you're right. A lot of arguments
Petty.
they're petty. And when you look at what truly matters in life, it's not worth it.
Right.
Sometimes, right? Just to prove your
Yeah.
point.
And you got to stick to your guns and what your moral compass tells you to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very difficult, because if you're in a position where, for example, politics, the politicians get beat up a lot, okay? And there are plenty of them, that say one thing and do another. But it's been happening for ages and ages and ages,
Yeah.
all the way back to the Roman Empire. And so for someone to stick to their guns, okay, they have to have a tremendous conviction, because sometimes it's very difficult. For example, look, what is it, Tucker Carlson? Tucker? He just got fired, right? And apparently got fired for, saying, quote unquote, apparently the truth about a couple of things. And the owner, Murdoch, didn't like it, and out he goes. So sometimes when your job is on the line, and you sometimes refrain from being so abrupt with the truth, but you still have to try to come out and
Well,
say, it's
that's almost an
difficult.
example of law one, which is never outshine the master.
Yeah, what you think?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
Tucker
yeah.
Carlson got fired because at the end of the day he's on a payroll. So that's why if you can be independent, and that's why there's a huge growth of independent journalism,
Mm-hmm.
because you're trying to escape the idea that somebody is the master and they can cancel you, they can fire you. So yeah, that situation. But in terms of this law and gaining power and in a corporate setting, I think that there's a lot of merit to your actions.
Oh,
In business settings, you see a lot like the idea that, oh, I'm always working or hustling, and um, you also see there's a lot of showboating, right? And but at the end of the day, what are your numbers?
right,
And that's when some people don't want to divulge their numbers, because
right.
that shows the truth. That's the naked truth.
Absolutely, absolutely. So same thing with, um, let's say in basketball, how many free throws have you made?
Right.
How many championship games have you won?
Yeah.
The numbers tell the truth.
Right.
I mean, you can't sway that.
Yeah.
So absolutely, um, and there are some people that go beyond the call of duty because it's their inner self, what
Right.
they have to, what they have to do. So your actions speak louder than your words.
Yeah.
I keep going back to that because you watch what people are doing, and you're gonna know what's again at the core of their,
Right.
being.
Yeah, and I just thinking like also in like corporate settings,
Uh huh.
because I've seen situations where, let's say somebody is showing they're leading with the action and they're putting up huge numbers.
Uh huh.
Um, but I've also seen that they've done it in a way that's short lived,
Oh,
because they're doing things that are unethical, or, yeah, essentially they're breaking certain rules. And eventually that catches up to you too. And that's the thing, is like, in order to gain power, and that's one thing I like, that Robert Greene is not just talking about gaining power, but he also, how do you maintain that power? And when you're doing shortcuts, or you're doing things that are unethical to get ahead in life, eventually it does come back and bite you.
yeah. Well, um, I was reading something where I forget. I'm not sure if it was Jordan or I forget who was the one on this article, but they're saying, look, anything worthwhile takes energy, discipline,
Yeah.
commitment.
Oh yeah.
Anything that's shortcut. If any shortcuts that you take to try to get to a point, they're saying, hey, it's not going to work. It's short lived.
Yeah.
Anything that's worthwhile is going to take effort, hard work, commitment, discipline, all those good things
Yeah.
that you have to put out. So you need to have all that before your numbers begin to climb, whether it's in sales, basketball, baseball, the number of home runs,
Yeah.
whatever it is. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the time. And then, your actions, yeah, speak
Yeah.
louder than your words.
Yeah, don't win through an argument.
Right.
Have you seen in any business setting, or that you've come across? Because I know I've seen you in certain situations say it's not even worth it to argue with this person, or like to get involved. You heard somebody say something incorrectly, but you didn't correct them, because why argue with that person?
Yeah.
They've made up their mind.
There's several instances. For example, it may not be my place for example, I went to a presentation the other day, the speaker said something that wasn't totally 100%. He's the speaker. I was invited. I was one in a crowd of 25. Um, if I raise my hand and say, by the way, that's not good.
Yeah.
It wasn't my place. It wasn't the time. Um, so you're gonna make somebody look potentially bad, and for what? The mistake wasn't that drastic either, but it was incorrect. But I kept my mouth shut because I'm a guest, and so in that case, the level of respect for the speaker, because he's also a person that knows his stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So you gotta check the surroundings, look at your atmosphere, and figure out if it's worth at all. Sometimes, that battle is not worth fighting. I know that there was another person that was complaining about the cost of something, and he was going to take a tremendous amount of energy to try to convince this person that this wasn't the case exactly.
Mm.
And I remember backing off. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we've had several instances where we also, like, how you talk to somebody is so important. So if you know somebody made a mistake, but let's say that they're the ones that are between correcting the mistake or not.
If they know.
But let's say I'm thinking like you go to a clerk, it's at the city or something.
Oh, okay.
And they are they made a mistake. If you go in there fuming and super angry, that person, if you
You're
put
lost.
yourself in their shoes, they're not going to want to help you. And that's the thing that I've noticed a lot of times. And some people get things done by cuffing and puffing and making a big scene. It's not personally my style. I mean, maybe I've done that before, but I rather just, hey, this was a mistake or whatever. Can you help me fix it? But because we've been on the other end, right? I mean, I grew up in an insurance agency answering phones. And so when you're answering the phone, you're the recipient of all the anger that person has sometimes. If, let's say, they had an accident or they had a bad experience or payment has gone up or something, right?
Yeah.
So by them being mean to me, it didn't make me want to help them more.
Well, you're getting beat up.
You're getting beat up. But if they treat me nice and say, hey, you know what? You guys dropped the ball here, but can you help me out? And come from that angle, I would way want to more help them.
Yeah, that's just human nature.
Yeah. But treating people with respect, dignity is nowadays, it seems like a little bit more rare. I guess it depends.
But I think, well, look, and this one, Jordan Peterson is the one that says this, he says, look, if you have the ability to speak and communicate, you've got more than half the battle won, because communication is an art.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get much accomplished by beating up the other person, especially if you need something from them.
Yeah.
Now, if they made a mistake and they are incompetent, at some point, you're going to have to say, well, may I speak with someone else or something?
Yeah.
But, you just never know what people are going through. But, there's a lot to be said about that. There's an old saying, see if I can remember. There are 3 people that you're not supposed to get upset with. 3 people in life. Okay? 3 people in life you're not supposed to get upset with. And one of them is your nurse. Don't get your nurse that's treating you for some kind of illness in the hospital upset at you. Don't do that. That's a recipe for failure. So that's one. The other person is, don't get the guy that's cooking your meal in a restaurant upset at you. Don't do that. God knows what you can potentially be eating. Okay, so don't get your nurse upset. Don't get your cook upset. And then the third one is make sure, this one is very important, don't ever get your partner upset at you for a very long time, whether it's your wife or your husband, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't get your partner upset, because what's it going to be? You're going to win an argument and you're going to destroy, in my case, her, right? Or, if a lady that's married to a gentleman, she's going to destroy the gentleman, right? But then what? You still have to go to the same bedroom, sleep in the same bed. What's going to happen afterward, after it's better to come to terms with all those three people. Your life will run a lot smoother.
Yeah.
And especially, I remember one time, uh, somebody at a restaurant, they got upset with their cook. And when they finally brought the food out, it didn't taste so good. And the guy said, hey, this doesn't taste good, take it back. So it didn't stop there, but maybe, you don't want to do that.
No.
So,
Yeah.
but your actions are extremely important.
Yeah.
Because your actions determine in the direction that you're going. You'll be able, it's transparent if you look at it.
We were talking about it today, or also somebody that we know that they're all talk, right? Hey, that's fine. But sometimes, if you say you're going to do something, or if you, look, we all make mistakes. No one's perfect. But your word, what is more valuable than your word? If you say you're going to do something, and when people have a reputation, after a couple times of being all talk and no action, that's now a pattern, and now you just maybe you recognize it. It's like I know some people that they in the real estate world will find a really, really good deal, and they'll take it to a potential investor. You take it to them once, the investor says, oh yeah, I'm I can do it, I'm capable. Okay, they pass on it the first time. Maybe you get another really good deal, you take it to that same investor, they pass on it again. By the third time, you probably won't take them a deal again.
Right.
Because they're showing you that they're not serious.
Right.
And those are the actions.
Yeah.
Because anyone could say, I'm an investor. Anyone could say, bring me a deal when you get one. But when it comes to putting money where your mouth is,
pulling the trigger.
And I think that's what, unless you want to add anything, I think that's what Robert Greene is really talking about with law number 9. It's put your money where your mouth is. Win through your actions, never through an argument, because the winning through the argument is just going to stir up resentment, and it's just a momentary change in opinion. And to maintain and gain power, it's got to be through action.
There's no other way.
Yeah.
You develop a career path based on what the things that you have done. The thing is that people nowadays, we have a short memory. People do things, and then everybody's life is so
busy.
Yeah. Okay. That unless you're in it knee deep, you have short memory about things. But there's no doubt about it that the people that are at the top, they distinguish themselves from the others because
of the actions they do.
Exactly. Like, for example, you're talking about real estate and investors. The guy that has the ability to pull the trigger and does it and closes on a deal, okay, that gets spread around.
They'll get more deals.
No, this guy right here, he closed a deal on this. So this guy is
he's a doer.
Really, truly a doer. This guy's, and and vice versa.
Sure.
Hey, that guy, I brought him 2 deals, he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And in that particular scenario, you need to act at the speed of light, because if it's definitely a deal you're bringing over, he doesn't make a move quickly enough, you're out the deal too.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
Um,
And that's one thing Robert Kiyosaki,
yeah.
he's always talking about. He says that in his training in real estate early on, he analyzed, I think it was 100 deals within
Oh
a
yeah.
very short period of time. I don't remember if it was within 100 days or it was a very short period of time. And it allowed him to recognize what is actually a deal. Because anyone could say, hey, this is a great deal. But he actually knew exactly what to look for, how to analyze it, and that comes through practice.
Sure.
So some people don't really know what they got. Um, they don't really know what they got, and so they don't take action on it because they
Right.
don't know how to recognize whether it's an opportunity or not.
Right. Right. Right.
I like the idea of
I
jumping
love
in.
this law.
Oh yeah, I like the idea of jumping in and taking the risk, but um, you can also take a loss.
Well, I mean, everything in life has a risk.
Yeah.
I was listening to somebody the other day and says, "Oh, no, I'm afraid to do this," and he goes, "Well, walking out the front door is a risk, but we
Yeah.
walk out the front door every day, you know, unless you're living like a hermit in your." So everything has some kind of intrinsic. But boy, you got to take a chance. Look, there was your actions speak louder than words, no doubt about it. And if you're in the investment world, you got to take risks.
Yeah.
Okay. And there was an article that said that older folks, I'm talking about people that were well in their 80s. Okay. One of the major things that they regret is not taking action on something,
Mm.
because it leaves you. Because if you take action on something and you fail, at least you can say, hey, you know what, I tried it didn't work out, but I went to something else and it didn't work out, right? But not trying it, having that dream or that idea and not affecting on it, not moving in on it, that is one of the biggest regrets that people in their late 80s brought about that they had. So if you have an idea and give it a whirl, I mean, you might fall and get scratched on it, but they're saying that that's not the issue. That's a lesson. Get up and try something else again.
Right.
Because we only get one shot. There's only one shot, one life. So you make the best of it, right?
That's right.
I really like this law a lot.
Yeah. Well, we're big fans.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no
So,
doubt.
cool. We'll wrap it up there, and thank everybody for listening. And if they
Yes.
want to check out the other laws, we'll put them in the description.
Yeah,
the
we
other
have.
ones we've done.
Yeah, we have another 8 that we have done, and we're gonna go through all of them.
Cool. Thank
All
you.
right.